There's a strange sort of comfort in a good ghost story, isn't there? It's that sort of morbid curiosity that makes us lean in just that little bit closer and listen to the tales of things that go bump in the night. What happens when those aren't just campfire tales? What happens when they're sort of personal accounts from the very people we watch ourselves on TV and listen to on our radios and podcasts? Because it turns out that fame, fortune, and a million followers offer absolutely no protection from what is lurking in the shadows. The supernatural, it seems, doesn't really care if you're a pop star, a TV host, or a beloved actor. When the lights go out, anyone can become a believer, and in this episode today of Spooky Island Radio, we're doing more than just telling ghost stories. We're reliving the most chilling and terrifying paranormal encounters ever shared by UK celebrities. So turn down the lights, get comfortable. You know their faces, you know their work, but you don't know what truly haunts them, so let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Spooky Island Radio. And like I said in the intro, today we're looking at some UK celebrities who you may not know all around the world, and some of you might. But yeah, so I seen somebody else had done an episode, but they did it on just one of the people, and I thought, I wonder if there's actually a thing. Like, I wonder if people have actually spoken about their experiences, and it turns out that they have. So we'll be looking into people like Robbie Williams, Lily Allen, Kim Woodburn, R.I.P., Danny Dyer, and even the queen of the paranormal herself, Yvette Fielding. So yeah, strap yourselves in and prepare yourself, as, like I say, what we're about to experience might just haunt you. Also, sorry if the light's a little bit off. It's like recording this at like golden hour and the sun's just like blasting through my living room, so hopefully it doesn't show up too much on the camera and affects the visuals too much, but I know you're not really here for that. You're here for the spooks. So let's get into our first celebrity ghost story, and that is a favorite artist, not a favorite artist, he's sort of maybe like a guilty pleasure. Grew up listening to him. My mum was, huge on Take That. Then Robbie Williams when he went solo. So yeah, grew up listening to all of his stuff. If you haven't seen his film Better Man, it's really good. I definitely recommend watching it or renting it. So it was really cool to see what's he, or hear about what he thinks he's seen, and sort of the inspiration as well behind some of his songs, which we'll get into in a little bit. So let's sort of talk about Robbie Williams' experiences. And yeah, like I said, to most people, Robbie Williams is the ultimate showman. He's charismatic, force of British pop, but hiding behind his sold-out stadium tours and number one hits is a long and a sort of deeply unsettling story with the paranormal. So Williams himself has been surprisingly open about his experiences, insisting that they happened when he was sober. So that's always a plus, tick. And that they've shaped both his life and his music. And yeah, like I said before, go see his film, watch his film. It's really, really good. Now, the darkness that seemed to attach itself to him in his adult life, following him from one house to the next. So it's following him. It's not a house that's haunted. It seems to be like it was him. One of the first and most intense experiences happened in a house in Primrose Hill in London. From the moment he moved in, he said the vibe just felt wrong. It felt oppressive. And it started small, so the way things often do, sort of a feeling of being watched, a sudden chill in the air with no explanation, but it didn't stay like that for very long. So for Robbie, this haunting became sort of a constant companion. He tried to escape the oppressive feeling in the house by jumping in his car to clear his head, only to feel a presence climb into the back seat right behind him, which is fucking terrifying. It's one of my things I really worry about when I go on ghost hunts and following me home. So yeah, he can't even escape in his car. It's following him. Could you just imagine, you're scared in your house, you get in your car, then driving through a busy, familiar streets of London with the normal world all going on around you, yet inside your own car, a dread is there still following you. You can't even escape it that way. He said he could feel it get in the car every single time he tried to leave. This went on for 2 months, sort of a relentless psychological attack of sleepless nights and constant gnawing fear is what he said. It pushed him so far that he admitted he actually considered ending his own life, thinking it was the only way to escape the thing that seemed sort of so determined to break him. And yeah, sort of at this point, it sort of seems like it's sort of snowballing. So, it's sort of relentless at this point. So he's scared to go to sleep. So he has broken up sleep, so he doesn't sleep as much. And that just isn't great for somebody's mental state. So it's like a snowball effect, or there's never an end to it. So he constantly just getting more and more sleep deprived, possibly seeing more and more things because he is sleep deprived, and people start to hallucinate when they are. And if this is going on for months on end, then he probably was seeing, whether it was real or not doesn't mean his experience is any less relevant to him, I suppose. Now, the climax of this particular haunting was something torn from a nightmare. Now, one morning, Robbie woke up and saw it. He said he saw it there at the foot of his bed, like a dark mist sort of around this figure. It was a solid, unnatural shape just waiting there at the end of his bed. He was paralysed with fear, unable to move, barely able to breathe, convinced that if he tried to pass through it, something awful would happen. So again, do we have some sort of sleep deprived hallucination here? Is it sleep paralysis? I know that's what everybody goes to these days to explain these sorts of things away, but it's happened to me, and it is scary, and you do feel like there is a presence in the room. But for those of you that don't know, sleep paralysis is sort of where you're in a REM sleep, I believe, and basically your mind wakes up, but your body is still sleeping, so you can't move. So you sort of lying there in bed, you can't move, but you can look around and see what's going on, and people sort of associate this with hauntings, or as a possible explanation of hauntings, because sometimes if you're still dreaming as well, you'll see things in your dreams. So if you're having a nightmare about a man in a hat chasing you or something like that, and you wake up but your body's still asleep, then you might see that man. So it's and yeah, who knows, but it's happened to me, and it is pretty fucking scary. Now, later he moved to a mansion, because he's obviously doing well for himself, in LA, that was once owned by Mama Cass, so the singer from Mamas and Papas. The activity there was immediate, he said. He talked about hearing somebody walking around upstairs when nobody was home. It was in this house that he claimed to have had a polite chat with the spirit of Mama Cass herself, acknowledging she was there and asking her to please stop fucking terrifying him. I mean, it's a reasonable request, I think. But his experiences weren't just with ghosts. So Robbie Williams has always been fascinated by UFOs. He remembers seeing one so close he felt like he could have probably hit it with a tennis ball. An event which he sort of stresses happened when he was not under the influence of anything. Another time whilst writing his song Arizona, which is about alien contact, a strange ball of golden light reportedly appeared in the studio with him, which I think is crazy if it did actually happen. But I have always said this, I think when you especially with UFOs, the more you talk about it and the more you do things on it, I think they are surveilling the Earth and the planet. So maybe that does make you a bit more susceptible to seeing these sorts of things or them revealing themselves to you. And yeah, I will try and play, I don't know how much I can get away with, I'll try and play a little bit of this song Arizona, because I'd never heard it before. It's off one of his older albums. And yeah, it's definitely sort of sci-fi inspired, and the lyrics and the music as well both seem to be inspired by this sort of event that he's had where he's experienced or seen a UFO. And it's not his best work, but art is subjective, I suppose. It's quite good. I'll try and play a little bit if I can get away with it. If you don't hear it, then I couldn't get away with it. But yeah, that's one of his not well-known songs. And perhaps most famously, he revealed that his iconic song Angels, which is my karaoke song, yeah, me and Robbie got a similar voice, wasn't written about a person at all, but was inspired about his lifelong connection with spirits and something unseen, in quotes, he's always sort of felt around him. And for Williams, these weren't just spooky stories for entertainment. They were terrifying, life-altering events. And he said that the phenomena only seemed to stop after his children were born, guessing that all his focus and energy shifted to them. But for years, one of Britain's biggest stars was stalked by the supernatural. Yeah, a chilling reminder that some things are way out of our control. And yeah, so I thought it was a really cool. And if you've heard Angels, you sort of know what the lyrics are and stuff. And yeah, from one singer directly into another, as we're going to start to talk about another UK singer called Lily Allen. But yeah, her sort of story is a little bit different now. Sometimes a personal story is so chilling it sort of becomes art. For singer-songwriter Lily Allen, her own paranormal experiences didn't just leave a mark, they gave her a unique insight for when she made her West End debut in a play called 222, A Ghost Story. The play is about a woman named Jenny who's convinced her new house is haunted, hearing footsteps around her baby's cot at the exact same time every night. And it's a role that Lily Allen, not Alan the man, Lily Allen could relate to on a deeply personal level. And yeah, she had a few good songs. She was nowhere near as big as Robbie Williams, but she had some good songs. If you haven't heard of her, go look up The Fear, that's a good one. And Not Fair, that's a really good one, but a bit of a dirty one. Me and Mark think that song's hilarious. And yeah, funny fact, her brother was in Game of Thrones, played Theon Greyjoy. He was Alfie Allen, so yeah, a little bit of family connection there, all in the arts, as they say. And yeah, I don't know, let me know in the comments below, have you ever seen 222 A Ghost Story on at the West End, or touring around the UK? It's meant to be really scary. I just never really got tickets for it, and it's I believe it's written by or produced or something like that by Danny Robbins, who does Uncanny. So again, go listen to Uncanny and watch it on telly, because it's on BBC now. It's really good. And I mean, Mark, who's not really into the paranormal, used to love sitting down watching Uncanny with me when it was out. So yeah, go watch it, go look up Lily Allen and all that jazz. And while I'm at it, yeah, like and subscribe if you wouldn't mind. Yeah, we're over 100 subscribers now, so getting there, we're on our way. And yeah, thank you everyone who's subscribed so far. But yeah, enough of that heartwarming bullshit. Let's get straight back into the ghost story of Lily Allen. Now, years before she ever stepped on the stage, Lily Allen had an experience she described as seriously so terrifying, like in her accent. Seriously so terrifying. That's not even her accent. Never mind, scratch that. While on a European tour back in 2009, she and her team were staying in a London flat with a bit of a dark history. Now, it used to be an old bakery. The vibe in the apartment was unsettling, apparently, from the get-go. And Lily Allen said she had an intensely crazy dream and a whole series of scary events. So let's get into them. The activity seemed to focus on her and her younger sister in one particularly scary incident. Now, her sister was in the shower and suddenly let out a scream. Lily ran in to find that the water had inexplicably turned scalding hot, leaving her sister's skin red. The terrifying part? The knob itself had turned, but her sister hadn't touched it. This was made sort of even creepier by something she had experienced herself just before it happened. So she confessed that she was showering earlier. She thought she had seen the figure of a little boy sitting on the sink just watching her, so creepy. She tried to brush it off, telling herself she must be going crazy, but the image of the little boy kicking his feet and the feeling of being watched really stuck with her. I mean, that must have just been so creepy. Imagine being at your most vulnerable, but you can't shake this feeling of being watched. I think that's what makes it even a bit more scary, you know. However, it wasn't just weird feelings and malfunctioning showers either. The sense of a presence was so strong that other people started to notice as well. Her auntie, who hadn't been told about any of the strange stuff happening, came to the flat and later fled in total panic. She explained she had been locked in the apartment when she left. When she came back, she found all the doors and windows wide open. That confirmation from someone else was the final straw, and Alan's mother had been skeptical at first, but with her auntie's story, it was sort of undeniable that something was seriously wrong with the flat. After a few more unexplained events, the family decided they couldn't stay there any longer and vowed to never return. The encounter with the little boy's spirit, the shower turned on its own, and the inexplicably, God, I can't get my words out, unlocked doors had created sort of this cocktail of terror that stayed with the family and her herself. When she later took to the stage to play the woman haunted in her own home, she wasn't just acting, she was drawing from a place of genuine and sort of terrifying experience. Now, I know this isn't the scariest, but what I sort of took away from this was like a sense of presence. Like, that's what is in most of these ghost stories. It's what happened in my own ghost story, was a sense that there was something there with you, but you sort of couldn't put your finger on it. And it also shapes people. Like, it shaped me, it shaped her, it shaped Robbie Williams, and it shaped sort of countless other people. This sense of presence, always watching. And yeah, it sort of reminds me of my haunted experiences. And yeah, I think you'll agree, quite a scary one. Now, from two singers to another local-ish celebrity, Danny fucking Dyer. I can't do a Cockney accent even if I tried. Yeah, let's get into it. So, for those of you that don't know, Danny Dyer is sort of classic East End hard man. Isn't the first person you'd picture telling ghost stories. His whole sort of persona is straight talking, no nonsense realism, and that's exactly why his sort of ghost story, which he famously told on the Jonathan Ross show, is just so brilliant. The video I most associate with Danny Dyer was when he called the ex-Prime Minister David Cameron a twat on live TV. I mean, I agree with him, but yeah, it was really funny, so I will put that clip in if I can find it. It's just so fucking funny, no filter whatsoever.
What it is, right? So what's happened to that twat David Cameron who called it on? Let's be fair.
I think you're referring to our former Prime Minister.
Yeah, but how comes he can scuttle off? He called all this on.
Yeah.
Yeah?
He has no regrets.
Where is he? He's in Europe, in Nice, with his trotters up. Yeah? Where is the geezer? I think he should be held accountable for it. He should be held accountable for it.
It's a valid point. A lot of people do feel
twat.
That
I mean, it's fucking great, right? I mean, you know, you sort of get the idea of sort of who he is now. Yeah, so Danny's story supposedly happened when he was young, long before he was famous. He was out late around 3 a.m, somewhere he shouldn't have been, Stratford Yard. sort of an area known for its railway lines. He was with a mate walking down the long, narrow alley with sort of high walls either side, and suddenly they saw a figure walking towards them. Their first thought that it was security and that they were about to get busted, but as the figure got closer, they realised it was something much weirder. It was a monk wearing the full traditional hooded robe. A monk strolling through a railway yard in East London at 3 a.m. I mean, that's scarier than security. Now, the sight alone was bizarre. Now, they stepped aside and the figure just walked straight past them. Confused, they turned around to get another look, and in just a few seconds, the monk had completely vanished. Me and Mark were having a sort of conversation about this the other day, like totally unexpected, because I don't ever expect him to speak to me about the paranormal, but obviously I love it. Well, there seems to be different ghosts. There's like ghosts that interact with people, and then there's like ghosts like this which don't interact. It's like a non-sentient haunting. It's, to me, sounds like stone tape theory. So was there something there all those years ago, and it's like a replay of energy where they seen this monk, and would I class that as a ghost? I don't know. It's like completely different, isn't it? It's sort of similar to when I was at Dudley Castle, so linked to that. I'll put it up there or something. You know what happens. So that ghost hunt where I went on Dudley Castle, where there's supposed to be monks seen. They don't interact with people. They just walk past, even though there's no monastery there. There was like somewhere nearby, but nowhere near where they're seen, and it's just like a replay. So they're not reaching out. So it's like a couple of different types of hauntings, I think. So this is like a really cool story from Danny's perspective. But I think it's more of a not a residual haunting. I don't know, it's like stone tape theory. Anyway, I'll stop rambling and get back on with the rest of the episode. Dyer explained that there was no logical way out. The alley was a dead end in one direction, and for the monk to just disappear that fast, he would have had to scale a massive wall in a flowing robe, which seemed pretty impossible. The only other explanation was that they'd just seen a ghost. So, those are the two explanations. They said they'd seen this monk while they lie. Why would he also talk about it all these years later? He's not getting anything from this. It's just reminiscing or, remembering something on a talk show. But yeah, the experience was so unnerving that he later looked into it and found out that there did used to be a monastery on that very spot. Now, we seem to be racing through these celebrity ghost stories a little bit, but those first two are big ones. I mean, that Robbie Williams one's pretty scary. The Danny Dyer one was like a little one that I just found. Not much substance to it, just the fact they'd sort of seen a ghost. And onto, I know I shouldn't really say this, people might cancel me, but from someone who's seen a ghost to someone who is now a ghost who's seen a ghost. So we're going to be talking about Kim Woodburn, who was a huge personality in the UK in the 90s. She was on like this cleaning show called Kim and Aggie, and they went and cleaned people's houses and got stool samples and stuff. It was really strange, but she was like this older woman, and I'll try and put in a clip of her on Celebrity Big Brother where she was just going ape shit at everybody. But great TV.
Kim. Chicken liver. Oh, this is crazy.
This is Big Brother. Kim should go to the snow.
Don't!
Kim. Come on. Kim.
Shut up! You're another one, you chicken-livered bugger. Adulterer.
Listen to me.
What you are is honesty.
I need to take
And you're an adulterer
I need to
when
take
you had, excuse me,
I need to take
and you're an adulterer that two-timed your wife and she's got 3 kids.
Listen,
You're
Kim,
talking about
Kim.
decency.
Bit of a strange personality, but I literally remember when I used to work in Wetherspoons, and it was New Year's Eve, so I was working New Year's Eve, working the bar New Year's Eve, and me and my mate finished at like 2 a.m, and we were like, should we go for a Mackey's? Let's go for a Mackey's. So we drove to the McDonald's at like 3 a.m. by the time we got there and got our food, sat in the drive-thru, and we both just loved Kim Woodburn. So we literally sat there watching Kim Woodburn videos, eating a McDonald's at 3 a.m. on New Year's Eve. / New Year's Day. So yeah, great memory. Lucy, if you're watching, I remember that was a great memory. But yeah, Kim Webber, she was like a force to be reckoned with. She really was, but she only passed away maybe 6 months ago, maybe not even that. So yeah, R.I.P. as they say. Now, she once shared a story of a haunting that wasn't just one single shock, but a sort of slow, creeping campaign of terror that sort of played all throughout her childhood. Her story is about the horror of a presence, again with a presence, that doesn't just show up once but weaves itself into daily life, turning a family home into a place of constant fear. Now, again, we have a story of presence, like I say, slowly eating away at somebody. Whether it's real or not, it almost becomes, the person almost lives it into reality, you know, by constantly being under attack by it. Now, the haunting took place in the home she grew up in, and it all centered on a spare bedroom that nobody seemed to like. At night, she said you could hear faint whispers coming through behind the closed door, not clear enough to sort of understand, but loud enough so you'd know that somebody was in there. The feeling from the room wasn't evil at first, just watchful and deeply unsettling. Now, soon the activity went from sounds to direct interaction. One evening, her mother heard her daughter call for her. She rushed upstairs and found her daughter terrified at the top of the stairs, saying that she'd heard someone call her name from inside the spare room. They checked out the room and it was empty. The only thing out of place was the mirror, which was fogged over as if someone had just breathed on it. Pretty scary experience. Now, for Kim, these experiences just became a terrifying part of her life. She stopped trying to explain it. Objects would move by themselves, hairbrushes vanished, drawers were found open, and sometimes her shoes would be discovered soaking wet by the back door in the morning. The very bed that she slept in would begin to vibrate subtly in the night, just enough to wake her and fill her with dread, but nothing too crazy. But the real terror started when the shadows began to move. Now, one night, lying in bed, she saw a shape in the corner of her room, and at first she thought it was sort of the trick of the light. Like, we've all been there, like you wake up in the middle of the night and you think you see, you know, you think like the laundry or the washing in the corner is a ghost, but she sort of wakes up already feeling like this and she sees something in the corner. Now, one night lying in bed, like I said, she saw a shape in the corner of her room. At first she thought it was a trick of the light, but then it moved deliberately, leaning towards her before completely vanishing. She was too scared to even scream. The next night the shadow was back, but this time it was closer to her bed, and a formless shape that had real weight to it. And the sort of distinct paralysing sense that it knew she was watching it, which I think is just terrifying. But again, could this be sleep paralysis? We don't know, we weren't there. But it sort of sounds like it could be a case for it. The fear got so intense that Kim started sleeping with the light on and even blocking her bedroom door with a heavy chest of drawers to stop it opening during the night. It didn't make a difference. This thing didn't need doors. One afternoon while she was home alone, this is what I hate about these sort of stories, it's when it's in the afternoon, in the daytime, when you're not expecting it, which is what my experience was as well, or one of. So one afternoon while she was home alone, she heard heavy footsteps walking across the floor of her mother's bedroom right above her. Then she heard her mother's voice call her name. When she went upstairs, there was no one there. Her mother wasn't due home for another hour. The haunting hits its terrifying peak one night just a week later. As Kim laid in bed, wide awake with fear, the mirror across from her began to fog over, and just like it had in the spare room, slowly an unseen finger traced a single word into the condensation. The word was die. This was a direct, horrifying message from the entity that had tormented her for so long. The experience cemented a sort of lifelong fear and profound belief in the paranormal, born from years of living with a presence that wasn't just a feeling, wasn't just a shadow, but was an active, intelligent and, malevolent force by the sounds of it. And this is probably the scariest story I've got for this episode from the UK Celebrity Ghost Stories. It's just like a non-stop presence, and to have, again, I'm not here to say whether it's true or not. I'm just here to, say what's been reported, and you make up your own mind. But whatever she was experiencing was terrifying. It was scaring her so much. And yeah, again, it's like a snowball effect. The more you get sleep deprived, the more you don't want to go to sleep at night, the more it sort of builds up over time, and then it just gets to be too much. Now, from Kim Woodburn, R.I.P. Mama Kim, we're going to go into our last horror UK celebrity ghost story, and that is Yvette Fielding. So you probably know who that is, as she probably needs no introduction. But talk about the irony. Imagine being a paranormal investigator, someone who willingly walks into the world's most haunted places, only to find that the darkness has followed you home. Now, her story is from much earlier, before Most Haunted, but I wrote that and I was like, oh, that's good. That's a good piece. I'm keeping that in. So, like I said, Yvette Fielding, whether you love her or hate her, is the face of Most Haunted. Has spent decades in creepy asylums, castles and dungeons looking for spirits. Jesus. Oh my actual God. Whew. Jesus Christ. Oh, God, I actually think I nearly died then. Gee, I literally couldn't breathe. Oh. I'm home alone as well, so I was like literally starting to think about calling the ambulance. God, it felt like my throat was closing up for a second. God, maybe it's the spirits, who knows? Fucking hell. God, I'm gonna keep my... Oh, jeez. That was a lot. Fucking hell. I'm gonna... Fucking hell. Jesus Christ. That was scary. Anyway, where was I? Talking about Yvette Fielding. Jesus Christ. Fuck. I can't remember where I was, but let's just start from here. Her most frightening encounter didn't happen in some forgotten prison or some haunted location. It happened in the one place she's supposed to be safe, and that's her own home. Yvette's story... God, my throat is still a bit... Jesus Christ. Yvette's story, which she shared on a TV show called Celebrity Ghost Stories UK, hits on a primal fear. So that is the violation of your own home sanctuary being not safe. She described settling into bed one evening just like any other, but as the night wore on, a deep sense of dread crept over her. Now, it started with a sudden drop in temperature. The room became icy cold, which is a classic sign of a spiritual presence. But this felt different, and this felt sort of personal to her. Like I said, she's very divided in personality. Either you believe her or you don't. But I love Most Haunted. I think it's great. The earlier episodes are better. Like, not with Derek. Like with the middle, I think is the best, and then they go downhill again, trying to fake things. And I met her. She was very, very nice. I met Stuart at a live show, and I got up on stage and did a scrying in the mirror. And yeah, they're very lovely people. So, you know, I think they started with the best of intentions, and it sort of got lost along the way. But anyway, enough of that. Back to her paranormal origin story, if you will, like like Captain America, but Yvette Fielding. She lay there, frozen in fear in her bed, not from the cold, but from whatever was paralyzing her. She had the overwhelming feeling that she was not alone, and that's when she felt it. So she felt a distinct, undeniable presence standing at the foot of her bed. Now, in the thick darkness of the room, she couldn't quite make out a figure, but she knew with every sort of fibre of her being that something was there, silently watching her. She said the feeling was sort of suffocating, which is quite a strong word, I suppose. Sort of what should happen to me. Every instinct screamed at her to stay perfectly still, warning her that any movement might sign that the thing knew that she was there. She knew they were there. This was exactly what this thing was waiting for. It was sort of like a terrifying standoff. Here was a woman who had bravely faced down countless spirits on TV, now completely helpless in her home. She estimated she said it was difficult to say how long it went on, but time tends to warp in moments of like pure fear. But for Yvette, it must have felt like an eternity. It's this silent standoff. The feeling finally subsided, the presence faded back into sort of nothingness that it came from, leaving her in a cold, silent room. And she goes on to talk about, so I've taken my glasses off because it's just a bit sweaty after all that happened. But yeah, she went on to talk about how I think she heard I think she had a baby as well at the time, and her husband was working away, and I think she heard an old woman in the baby's room, and this old figure came back to haunt her. With one night she was by herself and she woke up, and there was, I can't remember if she said it was over her or whether it was next to her, but there was basically an old hag or an old woman in the bed with her, and that was her breaking point. And then they told us this at the live event. This is what sort of she told her husband to come home straight away. He did, and then they went to a production company to try and get Most Haunted off the ground, which nearly didn't. But I'm glad it did. But again, it's like similar to what happened to me, similar to what happened to Robbie Williams and Kim Woodburn. These are sort of really formative things that happen to people in their formative years and really create a mark, on people. And yeah, I'm sure there was plenty more stories that I could find. These were just a handful of unsettling stories from people in the public eye. It really seems, like I said in the start, no amount of fame can keep the shadows away. And what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you know of any other celebrities who have spoken about their haunting experiences? And which one of the stories did you find the most terrifying? I think for me, the Kim Woodburn one is the scariest. To see something like that and over so many years, I think is pretty fucking terrifying. And yeah, more importantly, have you ever experienced anything you can't explain? Let us know your stories in the comments below. I read all the comments, all 6 of them. But yeah, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video for more stories of unexplained like this. And yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting one. Like I said, I've seen somebody else's video and I thought that'd be a really cool idea, because obviously we don't always think about celebrities as having these sorts of experiences, but they obviously do. But yeah, sorry it might not have been as good of an episode like visually, because like the sun's completely changed. It probably looks completely different now, the lighting, to how it was when it started. And yeah, my coughing fit where I nearly died. I mean, that would have been a bit morbid though, wouldn't it, if you'd literally have seen me die on camera? God, bears not to think about, does it? But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Until next time, stay spooky. Remember, the island is always watching. Bye.